Welcome back. Today's one of my favorite species for Easter, and today's topic is growing Phalaenopsis philippinensis, and this whether it's potted or mounted, and this is the species called philippinensis. Obviously, they are from the Philippines, and they're always very reliable. They flower just around the same time, a little bit later than the Phalaenopsis shuriana, which is another fragrant species from the Philippines. Philippinensis, however, it doesn't have the fragrance, but the reason I call it the Easter Bunny orchid, the Phalaenopsis, because it had the beautiful yellow side lobe, and all this represent about 3 different breeder strain from 3 different hybridizer. One from Japan, one from Taiwan, and another one from the Philippine island. So I've been collecting them, and this year probably the best year I have that I keep enough to grow them out for so I can do some selection. I just come back from a Pacific South judging, and I entered 2 plant, and I want to show you. This is the one received the award by the American Orchid Society, and the judges really like it. By the way, these are all first bloom seeding. Most of these are all first bloom seeding. The judges really like the way it's actually on record. It's bigger the flower than anyone that's been awarded. I know size is only 10 points, but just
What did it get awarded?
I forgot. I don't even know. I would know what they get. I just want to rush in and then get the print out and come back here. But it doesn't matter. But just to get a species award this day in Pacific South is pretty darn good. This have all the characteristics I'm looking for personally. It's not too tall. Okay, for my purpose, I think the modern Philippinensis, majority of people do not have a greenhouse. They go under light or windowsill. This is wonderful branching habit. You get how every node branch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 5 branches. The plant itself looks like a bonsai, looks like a tree. So, and got a beautiful marking on the foliage. It almost like looks like if you don't see the flower, it looks like shuriana. Okay. Beautiful ornamental on the foliage in the back also. So this is the one that got award, but I was pouring the plant really in the dark at 11 o'clock at night. So then I realized that Aunt Judy had more set aside somewhere, and here we are. So I'm gonna put this one aside. So this is Philippinensis. It doesn't have a leaf, so the Philippinensis can be no marking on the foliage also. So just FYI. But majority of the Philippinensis does have flowers, do have the marking on the variegation. So this one here is another one that I'm kind of keeping an eye on it, even though they didn't have a variegated foliage. But I like, this is the type of orchid that I like to keep just for the collection. Maybe later I will donate to the Huntington. So they have a gene pool of different variety. I believe this is actually from a different region of the Philippine island. Some people, the note I have is called, they call it TKP area. So I think it's part of one another area of the island of the Philippines. So when you have a different island, the evolution, they might evolve to have a strength, do not have any marking at all. So this is kind of interesting because the flower is kind of big, and This is something that I will keep for the height also. This is from different strand. This is the strand that I received from Japan. Okay, this is the you sort of like to get sources from different strands. Over the last 30, 40 years, because they, as the collector from the Philippines, they collect the species, they export it. So they might have on the label, they might all say philippinensis. But if you've been to the Philippines, I personally haven't been to the Philippines. But talking to my friend in Philippines, there's thousands of islands of in Philippines of different area. So this strand of the one I get from Japan is beautiful foliage. Okay, the marking is different. It's kind of elongated, but it always carry this kind of height. I understand from the breeder of this particular strand, he loved to always try to, if you've been to Japan show, Japan Grand Prix show, it's always in February. So he always trying to have this kind of strand for the Japan show in the middle of February. So in order to get award in Japan, they always want something big and showy. So he actually line breed for the tall effect. So this is strand that I will actually keep breeding with it, and this will be great for people who live in Florida. You can imagine you can just mount it on the tree, and they will just cascading and waterfall. And this is a first bloom seeding too. Okay, this is the first time the flower. Already had a very grand show, and a lot of time in the summertime, you might have a cake. This is actually the spike from last summer. Got the spike in too late, so it did not flower. It formed a keiki. Then the weather cool off, it formed a side flower spike from the same spike last year. This is wonderful about the philippinensis. It naturally will give you a vegetated keiki. If the spiking actually were too late and they were trying to form spike in the middle of summer, unfortunately it's too warm day and warm night. The flower spike just stay there. It did not develop into the flower spike. Remember the staging for the flower, you gotta have a day and night temperature minimum 15 degrees and lower than 85 degrees. So in the middle of summer, when we have a really hot summer, so that's the physiology of the flower spike, that it becomes a vegetated stage. And when the time is right, this keiki form a spike, and from the side shoot, because we have such a cold winter this year in California, it formed another spike coming up here. All right, and so this is another one that I said. This is actually two prints in here. I just put it in the same pot. Here's another one, same strand of the Japanese strand. I just love the. So after the talk is finished, and we might release some of this taller one for the open house. If you're a local customer in Southern California, if you're coming here, we probably release, some of this will be released this coming Friday. Don't worry, we also have some of the seeding available that we will release for online. That are actually the next generation of some of these philippinenses have beautiful compact leaf. But again, this is have a beautiful strand of the philippinensis. Just really showy.
Are these really easy growers?
Yes. If you can grow Shuriana, it's same. They're all from Philippines. The only difference is they do not have the fragrance like the Shuriana. But they are usually flower later than Shuriana. So if you have a Shuriana in your collection, it's wonderful to have philippinense because they always follow after the Shuriana. So depending on when the Easter come in, it come in late. It always come in late spring, late March, or April. But they're all done by Mother's Day. Okay, but the nice thing about the philippinenses and Shuriana, when they done flower, you still have a gorgeous ornamental foliage too on that. So sometime this June, I will do another segment. If you are growing in South Florida, this is a wonderful object for you mounted on the tree after the flower finish. You can actually also, if you're in South Florida, very hot and humid, you can also great to put it in your vanda basket, for example. If you have grow vanda in South Florida, or if you have a vanda basket with a lot of orchids, in Texas, South Texas, in Houston, really hot in the summertime, the vanda basket is really good. But for me in Southern California, or if in Arizona, Las Vegas, we have a lot of customers in Las Vegas. New Mexico, for example, our summer is dry, so I would always put it in the pot, much better. Okay, so depending on where you are, okay, if you are Northeast, Pacific Northwest and Northeast, you know, if you have a greenhouse, you can hang them up higher. Basket will be good for you. If not, potted is actually easier to handle, and then you can also observe them too. Okay, so this is actually this is what it looks like. This is the first bloom. It did not have a lot of first flower yet. Okay. So something like this on the first bloom, I personally, once the full flower finish, I would usually cut them off the spike. And use it as a cut flower. You can give it to your for Easter cut flower. Then I would try to build out the strand for vegetative stage to build up more strength for next year, because a lot of times they can flower for 2-3 months, and you don't want to waste so much energy on young plant like this. Okay, you want to, I know you don't want to cut off the flower, but think about the future for next year, because if it once we see what the flower potential looks like, okay, and then we just cut off the spike, and then we put them in the warmer greenhouse, warmer day, warmer night for the vegetative stage. This greenhouse here that you see here, this is what our flowering greenhouse. So the night temperature is just only 60 degrees. So it's 60 degrees. The day temperature they never get up to about 85, or we try to keep it below 80 degrees. So it is what we call the flowering stage. Okay, so this greenhouse here would be too cool for them to stay in for the vegetative stage. So if you grow under light, okay, you probably want to put it, once it's done flowering, you want to put it on the very top of your shelf of your light stand. The heat rises, okay. Or in Florida right now, it's hot right now, hot and humid already. This is actually a good time to put this type of orchid outdoor in South Florida under the gutter, so that the rain do not get to it. Okay. How are we doing so far? Another project that I personally am very involved is actually breeding for the foliage, and we're also trying to remake the some of the primary. So I'm actually going to make some crosses. I have a beautiful Shuriana in flower, so we can remake philippinensis with Shuriana. Okay, so some of the progeny will have fragrance too. This is one thing. This is another one we are actually keeping an eye on right now. Some of this Very, very interesting pattern of the foliage. Kind of very, very dark in color. You see here, almost purple autumn. So I'm actually doing another project that I love to grow, breed more for also for foliage. You know, I think for my major was ornamental horticulture. Ornamental is very important because for this type of orchid, yes, it doesn't have fragrance. So I'm trying to make up breed with different more pattern of the foliage. And there is another one. Let me show you. 哎，你睇硬嚟啫嚇。We have this new strand of the Shuriana. We call it silver leaf. You see it here? This is actually about 8 years old. And the silver leaf Shuriana actually never get big. So it's wonderful to get some of the dwarf, or what we call the compact foliage like. See, this is this is philippinensis too. Compared to this new one, the one from Japan, and this is actually from the Philippines. Okay, the area that the new area of the island that is we never heard before, but we noticed that from this area of strand of the philippinensis, they're always more compact, branching habit, very similar to the one I got awarded. So this is a wonderful matching. It does have beautiful marking. So this will be going to have a toothpick sex tonight. It will be a wonderful marriage between two of them. And this is the new strand of Shuriana. I will do a segment on just the new trend of the what we call the dwarf, the dwarf compact Shuriana. This is first seen in United States, and so this is a lot of possibilities. So the labels on the I know people just say, oh yeah, I seen the philippinensis, I seen one, I seen them all. No, it's actually a lot of variation. And the breeder, myself, and a couple of people in Taiwan, Japan, we're actually doing a lot of work, and we're trying to bring the size of the foliage smaller and more compact. And this is very exciting for people, for you as a customer who are getting into the hobby right now. Because back before the 70, before the 80, all you can get is the species they exported from the Philippines, and very hard, you know, very easy to kill. But now, never buy any jungle collector, because when we do it by sea and in vitro, the breeder will actually breed for different strength. So this is why we spend a lot of time. I know Richard hold me a lot. We write it in our description. You know, when you buy orchid, try and not just buy based on the price. Find out the source or your vendor is very important, because if a vendor and take the time to write a description and tell you what the type and breeding. Okay, so if I offer something that will be something tall and showy, then that's good for you if you're in South Florida. If you do not have a lot of space, okay, so you want something like this. This all from the same seed pod. And this compact, okay? So there's something for everybody, literally, there's something for everybody. So this is the one got awarded today, but I think it's why it has beautiful branching habit. But I think I wish to have room. I wish to have room to improve from here. I think the leaf can a little bit too big, can be smaller, more compact. But genetically, philippinensis always have larger leaves. So I'm still looking for, and through the population of seeding, we're still looking for more compact foliage on this. Okay, so Okay, so if you grow Phalaenopsis shuriana, it's very similar to any of your standard Phalaenopsis. Your white, they actually but because they are variegated leaf, grow it next to your shuriana. You can go back to review my previous podcast on Phalaenopsis shuriana. The shuriana, any of the variegated leaf in the summertime looks like shadier. Okay, they do not have a full chlorophyll, solid green leaves. Okay, and then but they do always love to have extra light, more light in the wintertime before they flower. And the feeding, we feed in. If you follow my program, the normal is optimum fertilizer every other week, year round, and then we at least once a month make it dry. In the growing season, if you can, mark it on your calendar, twice a month, every other week. They do not like to be dry out like any Phalaenopsis. They're very thin leaf, okay? They're not succulent, they're not calyria. So if a lot of time if you're not sure whether to water or not, and you're going on vacation in the middle of summer, it's going to be hot. Go ahead and water it. In the summertime, I will usually water it at least once a week, and even in the moss, I will usually check it at least once a month. When we say we check water once a week, that doesn't mean you have to water once a week. That just gives you the idea to check the water once a week, because by the time your collection is expanded, you might have a lot of different sizes. I usually try to put all my 4-inch pot, the standard size, all in one area. Okay, and put your smaller plant, the baby plant, the 2-inch one, in one area. The bigger the pot, especially in the moss, the slower they dry out. So smaller, and if you go in the orchid bark, they dry out even faster. So always separate them, the one in the moss and one in the pot, and try to grouping them by pot size. That way they will dry out about the same time. Otherwise, if you put the 2-inch and the 4-inch or even 6-inch all together, okay, if you water the 6-inch pot, the frequency, the one in the 2-inch pot will be too dry. If you water the 2-inch one together with the 6-inch, the one in the 6-inch and the 4-inch, it could be drawn. They'll be overwatered. So always put in together. That's why if you come to my nursery, we always have a session, 2-inch or in one area, even in the same bench. So you can do that. If you have a light level, growing light, put all your 2-inch together, have a tray like this, so you can actually absorb them as much at the same time. Once they're done flower, if you can keep the maximum daylight temperature about 85 degrees, they will last at least 2-3 months for you. Okay, and then as far as the pest is concerned, they're not attracted to a lot of insect with the occasion of the minibug. Okay, now if you have a lot of tropical garden, if you have a lot of hibiscus in your landscape or philodendron, always watch out for those gardenia, for example. They actually a host for minibug. So a lot of time minibug is actually when we carry in when we go walk in our garden. Okay, those insect, the eggs, with an adult female, they can actually stick it to our pen and walk into our collection in the greenhouse or in the house, for example. So other than that, enjoy it when they're in flower, and this is perfect, a wonderful addition for the Easter season. They always flower every Easter for me, and this is always a nice decoration for my Easter party. Okay, so I think this is a very good explanation for this. Here's another one, a very good form, very good shape, okay? And you can see here, it's actually in a warm house, so it's actually try to get keiki, okay? And I'm gonna leave the keiki alone. When we finish them, we will probably do a segment. We will do a keiki paste and how to propagate the keiki from this. Philippinensis is one species just generically love to form keiki from the old stock. So when you have this Philippinensis finished flower, do not cut the spike off. If you have a beautiful mature plant, very mature plant, leave it alone a lot of time. In the summertime, they actually will form keiki, and then you can propagate themselves. But on the young plant like this, I would try to save the energy to grow a bigger and stronger plant. So I will actually recommend to cut them off, okay? Other than that, don't worry, we're going to have a follow-up segment on the keiki in the summertime.